In a significant legal development, scientists from Harvard University are celebrating a recent court decision that challenges the Trump administration's actions. On Wednesday, U.S. District Court Judge Allison D. Burroughs ruled that the government's efforts to clamp down on alleged anti-Semitism during protests related to Israel's conflict in Gaza were merely a facade, masking a broader attack on Harvard itself. This ruling has sparked a wave of optimism among the academic community, but the Trump administration has already announced plans to appeal the decision. The implications of this case could reach the highest court in the land, but Church, a representative from Harvard, expressed a strong belief that the Supreme Court would ultimately support Harvard's position. "I can't see any reason why the lower court's ruling would be overturned," he stated. "If a group of students is exercising their right to free speech through protests, why should scientists who are uninvolved face repercussions?" This sentiment underscores the importance of protecting academic freedom and the rights of individuals to express their views. For months, Harvard has been entangled in negotiations with the Trump administration, which has demanded significant changes from the prestigious institution. Recently, President Trump urged Education Secretary Linda McMahon to secure a staggering $500 million from Harvard as part of the settlement. This demand has raised eyebrows and questions about the administration's motives. Nancy Krieger, a professor specializing in social epidemiology at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, expressed hope that this legal victory would embolden the university to stand firm against ongoing attacks on public health initiatives. Krieger is one of many researchers whose funding from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, was abruptly cut earlier this year due to the administration's restrictions on grants related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as transgender rights. Although a federal judge in Boston later overturned the NIH's actions, Krieger's funding remained uncertain due to the administration's freeze on federal support for Harvard. "Now, there's a chance for those funds that were wrongfully terminated to be reinstated," she remarked. Krieger had previously urged Harvard President Alan Garber not to settle with the Trump administration before the lawsuit's resolution, and she believes Burroughs' ruling strengthens Harvard's negotiating position. "Having this ruling in our favor is definitely an advantage," she noted. Scott Delaney, a research scientist at the same public health school, echoed Krieger's sentiments, hoping that the ruling would encourage Harvard to pursue the case vigorously rather than settle. "If Harvard commits to seeing this through, their arguments are compelling," he stated. Delaney, who co-founded Grant Witness to monitor the billions in federal grants frozen by the government, acknowledged the Supreme Court's tendency to favor the Trump administration in past cases, but remained optimistic about Harvard's chances of success. "While we should be wary of an activist Supreme Court, I still believe Harvard will prevail in the end." As the Trump administration prepares to challenge Burroughs' ruling, uncertainty looms over the future of funding at Harvard. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have reported a lack of clarity regarding the status of their grants, leaving them in a state of limbo that has persisted since the administration's initial actions against the university. Dr. Philip Cole, a professor focused on developing new cancer therapies at the intersection of chemistry and biology, shared his experience of losing 2 grants, one for research and another for training graduate students. Although his lab has managed to secure temporary funding, Cole is not optimistic about the swift return of his NIH support. "There's no clear guidance from the school or NIH leadership. It's all very uncertain," he lamented. Kevin Struhl, a molecular biologist at Harvard Medical School, indicated that he can sustain his lab until next June thanks to supplemental funding and a reserve fund. However, he remains unsure about the long-term implications of the ruling for his research and that of his colleagues. "This decision is certainly a positive development for us, reinforcing what many have believed, but it doesn't change the immediate situation," Struhl explained. Both Struhl and Cole suspect that funding will remain inaccessible while the administration appeals the ruling. Meanwhile, the Harvard Graduate Student Union, representing 5,000 graduate students, celebrated the court's decision, though they acknowledged the challenges faced in recent months. Rachel Petherbridge, the union's chief steward and a PhD candidate in biology, noted that graduate students heavily depend on federal funding for their research. This ruling is a victory for both Harvard and the union, she stated, reflecting on the tumultuous period from May to June when the Trump administration canceled approximately $8.2 billion in grants and restricted international students from attending Harvard. Many graduate workers faced job losses or had their contracts significantly shortened. The chaos during that time was overwhelming. It felt like everything was falling apart, Petherbridge recalled. By pursuing legal action against the Trump administration, Harvard has taken a different path than other institutions like Brown and Columbia, which opted for multi-million-dollar settlements. Kenneth Wong, an education research professor at Brown, acknowledged the significance of Burroughs' ruling in emphasizing the need for due process. However, he expressed no regrets about Brown's decision to settle for $50 million over 10 years, stating that it avoids the uncertainties and prolonged litigation that could arise from a court battle. As this situation unfolds, it raises important questions about the balance between academic freedom and governmental oversight. What do you think about Harvard's decision to fight back legally? Do you believe that universities should stand firm against government pressures? Or is it more pragmatic to negotiate settlements? Share your thoughts in the comments.